Good afternoon. It's a Saturday afternoon here, and we are going to make a little treat for our Sunday lunch tomorrow, which we like to do if we have time. This is my simplest of chocolate cakes, so we're going to share that with you this afternoon. A lot of you know that I enjoy making really fancy layer cakes and decorating them, but I usually don't have time for that. And often I'm making cake for about 250 people, so it means I need a simpler recipe. I'm not above using cake mixes if the need demands it, but this one is a little bit harder than a cake mix, but not much. It doesn't require mixers or anything, and it's so much better. So this is my favorite from scratch rectangle. It's just going to be in a Pyrex chocolate cake. Okay. Preheat your oven, which I've already done, to 350 degrees. And this is a nice recipe too because the measurements are really easy to remember. We start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour and add 2 cups of sugar. Lena? Okay. And 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. I like to use the Hershey's Special Dark cocoa powder. It just gives a little bit extra color and richness. I will stir it, please. Okay. To that, we add a heaping teaspoon of baking soda, not powder, and a pinch of salt. And that's it for our dry ingredients. I'm almost out of salt here. Okay, just whisk that together. So this is basically what you would get in a boxed cake mix. Your leavener, your sugar, your flour, and your cocoa. Okay, now we're going to add our wet ingredients. We have a cup of water. Go ahead. And 1/2 cup each of melted butter and vegetable oil. Got that, sweetie? Pour it in there. And then buttermilk. You can use regular milk too. Buttermilk does add a little bit of richness, and I always keep buttermilk on hand. 1 cup. And 2 eggs. The recipe calls for vanilla, but vanilla is breaking the bank these days, so I usually just omit that. Sometimes I will add some mint extract, even some coffee, or a little Bailey's Irish cream. It's hard to go wrong. So we're going to whisk this together. If you want, you can use a mixer. It's not really necessary. This comes together really quickly. Make sure you scrape the edges. Okay. No. All right, our cake is ready to go in the pan. It's really quick, took about 2 minutes. So we're just going to pour it. This is greased with a little bit of butter. I will say this cake does not make the best layer cake. It tends to fall apart fairly easily if you put it in a round. So we just stick to a 9x13 with this. Or you could do it in a jelly roll sheet pan as well if you want. Make a big sheet cake. All right. So there's our cake. Christian, would you open up the oven for me? Sometimes you can tap it with a little bit to get rid of some of the big air bubbles so it doesn't get bake a little bit unevenly. Okay. All right. In about 30 minutes, 25 minutes, we'll check on it. It should be done in about 30 minutes. Okay, see you in a bit. All right, our cake has baked. Took about 32 minutes for that toothpick stuck in the middle to come out clean. It's right here. It's still pretty warm, so we're not going to frost it yet. Don't ever frost a warm cake. Your frosting will suffer. We are going to go ahead and make the frosting. Now, I'm not sure if this can technically be called a real frosting. It's more like a glorified whipped cream. I don't really care for overly sweet frostings. I like a really light, just mildly sweet frosting. And it's hard to find that. I also really like whipped cream, but whipped cream is not very stable as a frosting. It tends to melt and it tends to kind of start falling apart on you. So I've looked for a long time to find a way to stabilize whipped cream, and I've found recipes where you can add gelatin and other things. But then I found a recipe that called for, which isn't that strange, but it seems strange to me, pudding mix of all things. It's whipped cream and pudding mix. This is a nice fancy pudding mix. It's Godiva dark chocolate. They make other flavors too. I just found this at Walmart. They make a white chocolate that's fantastic. It makes a nice white frosting. But this gives it some sweetness. It gives it some great chocolate flavor, and it stabilizes it. So you can just whip your cream with a little pudding mix in it, and you get a fantastic frosting or a filling for cream puffs or for a layer cake, or, I mean, it's good on all kinds of things. Right, Lena? You weren't paying attention. Okay, so we have here, at church I would use a whole quart of whipping cream and a whole box of this. You can make that much if you want. It is a lot. This is just a pint poured in my stand mixer. You do need a mixer for this, not necessarily a stand mixer, just a handheld mixer will work as well. Can I scooch a bit? So a pint of whipping cream, and this is half of my box of pudding mix, which is, hang on, about 1/3 of a cup. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. I'm sorry, it's kind of noisy. Go ahead. Just sprinkle this right in. All right. I'll be back in a minute. All right. So that only needed to mix for about a minute and a half. It thickens up pretty quickly because of the pudding mix. So you can see here, it's very sturdy. This is mildly chocolate in flavor. You can leave it like this, or, which I like to do because I like lots of chocolate flavor, I just add a few tablespoons more of cocoa powder just to give it a little more oomph. And if you find that it's getting a little bit thick, you can thin it out with just a little bit of milk or half and half, just a little bit. And again, if you taste it and think, oh, that's not nearly sweet enough, you feel free to add powdered sugar, not granulated, to your taste. That's the beauty of this frosting. So we're just going to mix this together one more time. Okay, and that is ready to go. It spreads beautifully. This is your finished product. I don't know how well you can see it. It's getting dark outside, so I'm going to turn my light on. But this is really delicious. Really easy. You don't have to soften butter. You don't have to make a huge mess with powdered sugar. Not our favorite. Or cocoa powder. Really basic. And it keeps in the fridge for quite a while. So you can add it to all kinds of different things. But tomorrow we will enjoy it on a slice of homemade chocolate cake. Hope you'll enjoy it too. Thanks.